Film crew's equipment trucks tore up elementary school soccer field. Kids had been fundraising for 2 years to afford uniforms, now had no field to play on. School couldn't pay for repairs. Clint heard kids crying in principal's office. What he built didn't just fix the field. When they turned on the lights for first game, parents cried. Rival schools asked, "How did you afford this?" It was fall 2010, and filming for J. Edgar was underway in various Los Angeles locations. The biographical drama about J. Edgar Hoover required numerous period-appropriate settings, and the production had secured permission to use the grounds of Washington Elementary School in Pasadena for exterior shots that would double as 1920s government building surroundings. Washington Elementary was a Title I school, meaning more than 40% of its students came from low-income families. The school served 420 students from kindergarten through 6th grade, and its budget was stretched thin. Art programs had been cut, music classes reduced, field trips eliminated. The school survived on the basics, teachers, textbooks, and the bare minimum facilities to meet educational requirements. But Washington Elementary had one thing that made it special to its students: a soccer program. The program existed entirely because of volunteer effort. 3 parent coaches, Marcus Williams, Jennifer Lopez, and Robert Chen, ran the teams using their own time, their own transportation, and mostly their own money. The school had no athletic budget, $0 allocated for sports equipment, uniforms, field maintenance, or anything else. For 2 years, the kids had been fundraising to afford team uniforms. They'd held bake sales, car washes, and collected aluminum cans for recycling money. The students had raised $1,200, enough to buy basic uniforms for the 85 kids who played on the 3 age division teams. The soccer field itself was nothing fancy. It was a grass field behind the school that the district mowed occasionally, but otherwise didn't maintain. No lights, no bleachers, no locker rooms. Just a rectangular patch of grass with portable goals the coaches set up before each practice and game. But to those 85 kids, it was everything. For many of them, soccer was the highlight of their school experience. Some came from homes where parents worked multiple jobs and soccer practice was the most stable, supervised activity in their week. Others found confidence on that field they couldn't find in the classroom. For kids at an underfunded school where opportunities were limited, that modest soccer field represented possibility. When the J. Edgar location manager approached Principal Sarah Martinez about using the school grounds for filming, she was hesitant. The school needed the soccer field for the upcoming season, which was starting in 3 weeks. The location manager assured her the production would only need the area for 2 days, would stay off the field itself, and would leave everything exactly as they found it. They offered the school $2,000 for the inconvenience, money Sarah knew could go toward art supplies or library books. Sarah agreed, with one explicit condition written into the contract: soccer field must remain undamaged and playable. The production had every intention of honoring that condition. But intentions don't always account for reality. On the second day of filming, the production needed to move several large equipment trucks, including a massive generator truck and a lighting crane truck, around to the back of the school for a different camera angle. The access road was narrow and the trucks were heavy. The driver of the generator truck misjudged the turn and drove onto the soccer field. The truck weighed over 20,000 pounds fully loaded. When it crossed the grass field, the weight tore through the surface. Deep tire ruts gouged into the ground. The grass was shredded. By the time the driver realized the damage and got back onto the access road, he left a path of destruction across 40 yards of the field. Then, the lighting crane truck followed the same path, assuming it was now the designated route. More weight, more damage. What had been a playable grass field was now torn up, rutted, and destroyed across nearly half its surface. Sarah Martinez, who'd been inside the school during the filming, came outside during a break and saw the damage. She stood at the edge of the field, looking at the destruction, and felt her stomach drop. The location manager approached her immediately, apologetic and clearly distressed. "Mrs. Martinez, I'm so sorry. This wasn't supposed to happen. We'll get it repaired. The production company will pay for restoration." "When?" Sarah asked. "The season starts in 3 weeks. We have 85 kids who've been waiting all summer to play. I'll have to check with the production budget department about timeline and approval. These things can take a few weeks to process." "We don't have a few weeks. We have 3 weeks, and then we have kids who need this field." The location manager promised to expedite the process, but Sarah had been an educator long enough to know how these things worked. Bureaucracy moved slowly. The production company would eventually pay for repairs, but eventually wouldn't help the kids whose season was about to start. That afternoon, Sarah had to make the announcement. She called an emergency meeting of the 3 parent coaches and told them what had happened. The field was destroyed. The district had no emergency budget for repairs. The production company would eventually pay, but not in time for the season. "What are you saying?" Marcus Williams asked, though he already knew. "I'm saying we can't have a season this year. I'm sorry. I know how hard everyone's worked. I know the kids have been fundraising for 2 years for those uniforms. But we don't have a playable field." The coaches were devastated, but they understood. Without a field, there was no season. The next morning, the coaches had to tell the kids. 85 elementary school students, ages 6 to 12, who'd spent their summer practicing, who'd sold lemonade and washed cars to raise money for uniforms, who'd been counting down the days until the season started. They were told there would be no season. Some kids cried, others got angry, a few just went quiet, trying to process the disappointment. The 6th graders, who'd been on the team since they were in kindergarten and were expecting this to be their final triumphant year before middle school, were particularly crushed. One of those 6th graders was Maya Chen, Robert Chen's daughter. Maya had been playing soccer since she was 5. She wasn't the most naturally athletic kid, but she'd worked harder than anyone else on the team. Soccer had given her confidence, friends, and a sense of belonging at a school where she'd otherwise been shy and overlooked. That evening, Robert came home to find Maya sitting in her room, crying, surrounded by the fundraising materials from the past 2 years. Bake sale posters, car wash signs, the jar where she'd collected recycling money. She'd saved $47 herself over 2 years. Now she had a uniform with nowhere to wear it. Robert, who worked as a grip on various film productions, hadn't been working on J. Edgar, but he knew people who were. The next day, he called a friend who was on the crew and mentioned what had happened, not to complain, just to share his daughter's disappointment. That friend mentioned it to someone else, who mentioned it to someone else, and eventually, the story reached Clint Eastwood. Clint was in post-production on J. Edgar by this point, no longer actively on set. But when he heard about the Washington Elementary situation, equipment trucks destroying a school field, kids losing their season, a school with no budget to fix it, he made some calls. First, he called the production company and confirmed they were processing the repair payment. They were, but it would take 6 to 8 weeks for approval and contractor hiring. "Not good enough," Clint said. "Those kids don't have 8 weeks. Then he made a different kind of call, to a sports field construction company he'd worked with before on other projects. "I need a soccer field built, elementary school, Pasadena. Can you start tomorrow?" The construction manager reviewed the scope. "Mr. Eastwood, you're talking about a full athletic field installation. That's not a repair. That's new construction. Grading, drainage, irrigation, turf. That's a 3-week project minimum, and it'll cost about $150,000. How long to make it playable for kids? If we rush it, maybe 10 days for basic playability. But it won't be properly settled. Do it in 10 days, and I don't want basic. I want it better than what they had before." But Clint didn't stop at the field. He called a sports equipment company and ordered new goals, new corner flags, coaching equipment, and practice gear. He called a uniform company and ordered custom team uniforms for all 85 kids. And then he made one more call, to a lighting company that specialized in athletic field installations. "I want to put lights on an elementary school soccer field. Can you do that?" The lighting company representative was confused. "Elementary schools don't usually have field lighting. That's high school and college level. Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Those kids deserve to play under lights like the high schools do. Can you install it in 2 weeks?" "It'll be expensive. We're talking $200,000 for a proper lighting system." "I didn't ask about the cost. I asked if you can install it in 2 weeks. The next morning, a construction crew arrived at Washington Elementary. Principal Sarah Martinez got a call from the district office asking why there were trucks and workers at her school. She had no idea. She went outside and found a foreman coordinating a team of workers who were already surveying the damaged field. "Excuse me, what's going on?" "We're here to install the new soccer field. Mr. Eastwood sent us." "Mr. Eastwood? Clint Eastwood? There must be some mistake. We can't afford a new field. We're waiting for the production company to pay for repairs." The foreman checked his paperwork. "No mistake, ma'am. We've been hired directly by Mr. Eastwood. We're building a regulation youth soccer field with proper drainage, irrigation, and professional-grade turf. We've also got a lighting crew coming next week to install field lights." Sarah stood there, trying to process what she was hearing. "Field lights? This is an elementary school. We don't have field lights." "You will in 2 weeks, ma'am." The construction took 12 days. The workers pulled out the destroyed grass, regraded the entire area, installed a proper drainage system, laid irrigation lines, and put down professional quality turf designed specifically for youth athletics. They installed permanent goals with breakaway mechanisms for safety. They built a small equipment storage shed. They added team benches along the sidelines. And then the lighting crew arrived. They installed 6 70-foot light poles with LED athletic field lighting, the kind of system that high schools and colleges use for night games. Sarah tried to reach Clint to thank him and to discuss payment arrangements. Surely the school could pay something somehow, but Clint was already onto other projects and didn't return the calls. She received a message through his office. "No payment expected. The field is a gift. Make sure the kids enjoy it." The season was pushed back 2 weeks to allow for the construction, but the kids didn't mind. They could see what was being built, and the excitement grew every day. When the field was finally complete, Sarah and the coaches decided to make the first game special. They invited families, sent invitations to the district office, and planned a brief ribbon-cutting ceremony. The night of that first game, parents started arriving an hour early. As they walked around to the back of the school where the old field had been, they stopped in their tracks. Where there had been a modest patch of grass with portable goals, there was now a pristine, professional-quality athletic field. The grass was perfect. Emerald green, evenly cut, marked with crisp white lines. The permanent goals gleamed. The team benches looked like something from a high school stadium. But what really stopped people was when the sun started to set, and someone threw the switch on the field lights. The entire field illuminated with brilliant, even lighting. It looked like a professional stadium. Parents who'd grown up playing soccer in backyards and on muddy fields started crying. This was better than some high school fields. This was better than most college practice facilities. And it was at their elementary school. One parent, a man named James Rodriguez, whose son played on the youngest team, sat in his car in the parking lot and cried for 5 minutes before he could compose himself enough to walk to the field. His son had been playing soccer on whatever patch of grass they could find in their neighborhood. Now he'd be playing under lights on a professional field. The game itself was pure joy. 85 kids wearing brand new custom uniforms, playing on a field that was better than anything they had ever imagined, under lights that made the evening game possible. Parents filled the sidelines. Teachers from the school came out to watch. Word had spread through the community, and people who didn't even have kids at Washington Elementary showed up to see the field everyone was talking about. During halftime, Principal Martinez made a brief announcement. She explained what had happened, the accidental damage, the destroyed season, and Clint Eastwood's response. She thanked him publicly, knowing he wasn't there to hear it, but feeling it needed to be said. The parents applauded. The kids cheered, and then they went back to playing soccer on their impossible field. Within a week, other schools in the district had heard about Washington Elementary's new field. Principals started calling Sarah. "How did you afford that? Our school can't even get the district to fix our broken backstop, and you've got professional field lighting?" Sarah explained what had happened. Some people didn't believe it. A few thought there must be some wealthy donor in the community. But the story was simple. A film production accidentally destroyed a field, and Clint Eastwood decided that fixing it wasn't enough. The kids deserved something extraordinary. The Washington Elementary soccer program was transformed. With a lighted field, they could host evening games that parents who worked during the day could actually attend. Other schools asked to use the field for their own games. The district started scheduling league championship games at Washington Elementary because it had the best youth soccer facility in the area. But the most significant impact was on the kids themselves. Maya Chen, the sixth grader who'd cried in her room over the canceled season, played her final elementary school year on that lighted field. She went on to play soccer in high school and college, eventually becoming a coach herself. She'd tell her own players about the field, where she learned that sometimes, when things seem impossible, someone might care enough to make them possible. The 85 kids who played that first season on the new field never forgot it. Many of them continued playing soccer through high school. Several earned college scholarships. A few played professionally. But all of them remembered the elementary school field that was better than it had any right to be, built by a director who believed kids deserved more than just adequate. 10 years later, in 2020, Washington Elementary held a ceremony to dedicate the field officially. They installed a plaque near the entrance, Washington Elementary Athletic Field, built 2010, gift of Clint Eastwood, where young athletes dream. Parents who'd cried at that first game came back with their younger children who were now playing on the same field. The lighting system, built to last, still illuminated evening games. The turf, professionally maintained by the district after seeing its value, remained in excellent condition. And every season, new groups of elementary school students played soccer under lights that they didn't know were unusual, on a field they didn't know was extraordinary, because one director understood that when you damage something kids love, you don't just fix it, you honor it. If this story of a destroyed field becoming a community stadium, of 85 disappointed kids receiving something beyond their dreams, and of how professional lighting at an elementary school became a symbol of someone caring enough to give children more than adequate moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this with youth coaches, teachers, or anyone who believes kids deserve excellent facilities, not just functional ones. Have you experienced or witnessed someone giving children opportunities beyond expectations? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for 6 more stories of when filming went wrong and Clint made it more than right.